have to hit record now. So you will be able to access this later. I believe it will be sent to you in email, and all 3 sessions are being recorded, so you'll be able to access it that way.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. Oh, again, there's just that quick reminder about your screen, because again, when your screen is shared, when someone shares their screen, it takes over yours. So just a quick reminder on that note.
Mhm.
And also, again, real quick reminder, by the way, you can share this with students or colleagues or anything, any of these slides. So if you like this one, you think it'll help your students or some people that'll be in your meeting, feel free. So again, there's the mute mic, turn on and off video, and the chat. We will be monitoring the chat the entire time, so on another device. So feel free anytime to ask questions in the chat and or unmute your mic and share what you're doing, ask questions as well.
All right, just a few tips and tricks just to kind of get you guys started here. Most of you probably already know this already. You are, I think if I remember correctly, you guys are all pretty veteran Zoom participants, but just some things just to remember to remind your participants as you begin facilitating Zoom meetings is remind them that, you know, if your Wi-Fi is unstable, turn off your camera. That way you are using less bandwidth. So that way the video and audio, it comes in a lot better on their end. Again, always remind them to be kind and mute your mic when you're not speaking. Again, you guys are all pros at that. But again, not everybody who participates in a Zoom remembers to do that. Again, that's something that you can do when you set up and schedule your Zoom where they're muted automatically. So you can either remind them or you can actually do it for them, which is a recommendation we will definitely be giving you. And again, down here we have a link to a useful participant guide. So as you become the veteran Zoom presenter, you can share this guide with your colleagues or students.
Right. We actually have a great video that we'll be sharing if you have students you'd like to share with as well. So that'll be in a bit.
We have that one then. I'll drop it in the chat later. A video I made. It's 90 seconds. So you have to sign up for Zoom for the first time and schedule your meeting all within 90 seconds. That's how quick and easy it is.
For those that joined just a bit ago, I did drop the link to the slide deck in the chat again.
So right here, let's make this a little interactive. It helps us kind of pace this out a little bit better and customize it to your needs and kind of plan for the next session a little bit more. So go ahead and share it in the chat. Go ahead and type it out there. Have you hosted a Zoom session? And if so, what challenges did you face? We'll give you a few minutes to think about that and type it out, and then we'll kind of provide some color commentary.
Perfect. So we've got some that are excited to host and haven't done it quite yet. You are in the right place. Going to get you zooming forward today. Ah, yes. When the kids are responding, parents working and talking loudly.
Yeah.
Excellent. Good point.
I've heard a lot about that.
Yes. This is something I was talking with some ed tech coaches today and with a school yesterday about the need to come up with some norms and expectations for next year. We were all thrown into this distance learning without warning, so to speak, and we didn't really prepare. But next year, if this occurs again in the fall, it will be extremely helpful to have some protocols and expectations you give the students. We don't want students showing up with no shirt on, you know. We don't want parents yelling in the background. And we haven't even told them a lot of those things in writing. So things to think about, perhaps certainly for next year. Do you have anything you wanted to add to that, Adam?
I'm just kind of like more of on a lighter note, you know, there's some ideas that what you can do. I know because we're good friends with the people over there at Flipgrid, and you know we've seen a lot of Flipgrid swag, and they had a great idea because Flipgrid is a kind of a bite-sized version of doing a video call but it's not live. And where the kids record videos of themselves kind of explaining their learning. And Flipgrid came up with this really cool idea that I've seen other people do as well, where they call it the Flipgrid tent. It's a tent that's a size for one person, just big enough for them to sit down in. and they cover themselves and they have a little bit of semblance of privacy. So I've heard of people doing that uh, with their with their Zoom meetings,
That's a
where
good idea.
they sometimes if they have a light, they go in a closet, or
Yeah.
they'll set up like a little curtain or something. It could be a green screen, but if you have one of those little like two people tents, that you can just sit there, and it kind of gives you a little bit of privacy. Does it filter out all the noise? No, but I think it's just kind of a fun little way just to kind of let people know, hey, I'm in the tent, I'm working. It just kind of it's a visual reminder. So definitely things to think about.
We will, I hear a great comment here about challenging to get everyone to mute. So we will address again how to mute upon entry. And also, I got some great ideas from a couple teachers today when we start talking about student use, about how to get feedback from students visually and kind of help them to know when to speak and things like that. Also, yeah, exactly. Teaching kids how to use the Zoom screen. That's what we've got that video in there. Oh, okay. So we'll make sure when we talk about sharing screens that we address the question of the desktop and such.
Yep.
And also, Valerie says, students have begun to draw and write on the screen share.
With the whiteboarding, or we're talking about the whiteboard version?
Well, I know that in the settings you can prevent your participants from doing that. So
Yeah,
maybe we'll do a little, especially because we have a couple people that haven't yet hosted a Zoom. So we'll spend a bit of time, not too much, because we're going to breakout room time. We'll have a little bit of time to show how to schedule the Zoom and do all that. But let's move on first in the slide deck here. Something that if you are beginning to host your first, or if you are already pro, it's still helpful. It's nice to have multiple devices. So you'll see here that on the picture on the left, one device has the chat open so that can be followed very easily. The other one has participants open so that you can let people in for the waiting room. Now, if you do this, you can log in with your account more than once on different devices, but there's something very important. Two things you have to remember. Adam, can you let everyone know those two things?
Yeah, you need to have your mic muted and your volume turned all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, there's going to be some serious interference. It will definitely make, if there's any dogs in the vicinity, they're probably going to howl. So again, make sure that you have one of them has to have totally muted and volume turned off. That's going to definitely make your life a lot easier.
Absolutely. It is helpful to give students and or colleagues or people in your meeting some Zoom tips ahead of time. This one's kind of more for adults, but I'm going to show you that video. You could give both as well, but I'll show you that video in a bit. It's also nice to have all the things that students or meeting participants are going to access in one location. I will say this, even as an adult, I'm doing a lot of these video meetings, as I know all of you are as well, a lot of sessions. I used to be in meetings, be in learning sessions, and take notes on my computer. It's very difficult for me to look at the screen and take notes digitally. It's kind of distracting. And so writing notes, doing work on paper, allowing kids to take notes that way can be a really great way to keep them engaged and not force them to go between windows. If that tech is tricky for them, like second graders, it's going to be tricky to tab hop and stuff. So I would encourage you to keep that in mind. I would not at this point with young kids, ask them to go to another digital location while they're on a Zoom call. Now, you teach high school, Adam. How do you feel about that age?
I'm on the same page as you as far as having them write things down and then they submit later digitally.
Right.
Have them do all that kind of like initial learning paper and pencil, because tab hopping, it's good. It's good when you're multitasking, but not when you're part of a lesson. If you're just watching a video, you can pause it, no big deal.
Right.
If you're in a live video with other students and you're with the teacher, it's a different story. And then if you're tab hopping and if you're using Google Chrome and let's say you have a whole bunch of different Chrome extensions, the tab hopping with those extensions it does a number on your computer's RAM.
That's true too.
And you can end up freezing and stuff. So it's just the less amount of work you have to do while the Zoom is, so the Zoom's already putting a strain on your computer as far as the memory. So the less, activity you have going on outside of the Zoom, the better for the computer, better for the experience of the participant.
Absolutely. Also, setting up a back channel using a chat is great. If you have younger kids and you feel like they're not yet writers, I don't want them to participate in a chat. What you can do, I had this heard this great idea from some teachers today. If you're in the grid video, so you can see all the kids at once. What's nice is this teacher talked about having a red, yellow, and green piece of paper for each kid, like piece of construction paper. If the teacher's going to going just about right as far as pacing, they can put up the green. If they feel like they want the teacher to slow down a bit, they put up the yellow, and the teacher knows, okay, I need to kind of slow down. They don't quite understand this. If there's a red, it's a, I don't understand at all. So visually, you look at that screen that has that open with all the kids' faces, and you're able to know at a glance with those non-writers kind of how much support they might need. So just an idea that I heard from a teacher today that I thought was really cool. All right, so starting a Zoom meeting, I know there's a typo here. I noticed that yesterday, my apologies. But on the right here, I had some colleagues ask me what they should say when they start a Zoom meeting. These are things that a lot of times I say all the time. These are things that we always like remind teachers of or students. There's a chat, you can pop that out. You can make the window smaller if teachers want to know that. Well, older students, maybe younger students, you might not want to get into that. If you want participants to raise their hand and answer yes or no, you can let them know about that. You might not want to make it that complicated, telling them to turn off their video if it's unstable, and then of course, keep your mic muted unless you are speaking.
So the raise your hand one, it's a cool little feature, but as a facilitator, it's not the easiest thing in the world for you, the host, to see it, because it's not very prominent on the screen. I think that's some feedback I'd give back Zoom to, like where that person's window like turns a whole different color or something when they want to raise their hand.
I just raised my hand, Adam. Did you see it?
I do, but if there's a dozen people on the call, it's kind of hard for me to see. If you're working with small groups, it's definitely easier for you to notice. But any more than like 4 or 5 people, it's going to be distracting, because if you're in the middle of presenting, someone raises their hand, just see that tiny little icon on one person's little window is not the easiest thing in the world to see. So we're letting you know it's there. We would recommend probably using that when you're working with small groups, not with a whole class, because again, some kid might think that you're ignoring them, inadvertently.
Right. I would also say small groups are a great way to go. I've been talking to some teachers lately that said, I think, especially with elementary, rather than having these large groups, I started meeting with small groups, 4 to 6 kids, and then they don't feel like there's more interaction. Kids are talking more and not talking over each other. So that's something to think about too. All right, so this is that video as promised that shows parents and teachers how to set up Zoom. It's a great video that you can certainly share with them. It's just on YouTube. Because it's on YouTube, we have something else to share with you, Adam. On the next slide, can you talk about what this is?
So where I work with every student that I work with is an English learner, like fresh in this country, little to no English at all. So the translation of the subtitles when YouTube videos is second nature to them. I make sure that's the first thing they learn, because a lot of my lessons, I put them on YouTube. I'm going to teach them in English, but they're going to learn. They're going to get exposed to it and be able to translate it into their home language. So this is a video here, just a random video about the gold rush, and I'm going to go ahead and play it real quick. Right there. There you go. I'm going to start playing. I'm going to pause it real quick. And kids learn this very quickly. My ELs learn this extremely quickly. It doesn't take them long, so don't feel like, they have to learn something new. It's very easy. So kids are really pretty good with YouTube. So over here on the settings, next to the YouTube button right here, this is the bottom of every video.
Every YouTube video.
Yep. And if you just posted it, let's say you made the video and you just posted it, it's not going to show up right away. It takes time for YouTube to catch up and process it, but you wait a day or two and those subtitles are ready to roll. So you click on, to me again. All right, let's try it again. I'm gonna click on the settings gearbox right there, and then you'll see subtitles. Right now they're turned off. I'm gonna turn them on. I'm gonna choose right now. I'm gonna choose English first, and then now it says English. I'm gonna click it again, and now I get to go to auto translate, and now I have all these different different ones. So if you want to see what this video sounds like in Danish, I'm gonna click Danish right here. If I go ahead and hit play, you're going to see this. It's actually this would be Catherine talking. We have it muted, but you can see it, word for word as best as it can do in Danish. And this is better than it was years ago.
Yes.
It was not this accurate. Again, if you're using like colloquialisms and slang, it's going to try its best to figure it out. But for the most part, I know some of the words I use in English, they didn't translate very well in Spanish sometimes. It's that I was using slang to explain something. So it came out kind of like some funny, different sounding words in Spanish. I won't say what they are, but for the most part,
but not inappropriate.
Not inappropriate. But you're
Right.
talking, as long as you're talking, academically and you're talking clearly, it's going to pick it up and it will translate it relatively accurate. So this is a great tool that you can have kids use with YouTube.
So if you are, this is a video that I made right here that shows kids how to turn on the subtitles, closed caption, and translate it. So you can share this video with your students. And then the reason we wanted to show that is because that last video was in English. So this way you've got that accessibility. All right. So a lot of teachers say, well, I want to use Zoom, but I teach mathematics. I don't really feel comfortable using a whiteboard. You could use your iPad or tablet if you have one as a whiteboard, and join Zoom at the same time and share your screen on the tablet. But you may want to show them things on paper. And so this is kind of this makeshift do-it-yourself doc cam.
Then you pick these up on Pinterest?
I did find these on Pinterest, but I have spoken with other teachers who have seen this and have done something similar, and they love it. So if you did this, I think I put it on the next slide here, you're just going to want to make sure that you join Zoom on both your computer and your makeshift doc cam, whether it's a mobile phone or tablet. But remember, and then share your screen from that. But remember, what's the most important part, Adam? Two things.
You need to mute your mic and turn down your volume when you are using double devices during the same Zoom, especially if they're in the same room as well. Another kind of alternative to this, you may say, I have an iPad and I have this great stylus. I have an Apple Pencil, which is definitely worth the money. I'll attest to that. If you don't want to use paper and pencil, you can definitely use that iPad as it. So you can pull up something like Google Keep or Jamboard or Notability or any kind of whiteboard or writing app on your tablet. And then when it's time to share your screen, you just share that app and it shows up on there. I actually made a few videos about how to kind of using Google Keep on your iPad as a doc cam. So you can do the DIY with paper and pencil like we've shown you here, or you can do it digital if you kind of want to do the geeky version of it.
All right. So I did want to address this because there is something called a webinar as well as a meeting. And so sometimes people will ask me, first of all, the webinar is only available on the paid version. Will be honest, I've not once ever used the webinar as a host. I have been on webinars with CDE. These are webinars that have thousands of people that join. And so for them, it's perfect because it's a public event. We are sometimes allowed to chat, sometimes not. No one knows we're there. They don't know any of our names. Participants are hidden. We can't ask specific people questions. So it's really for if you've got like hundreds or thousands of people, which you're probably not going to do. So, and it's only for the paid version. So I would say certainly use a meeting, host a meeting. But I wanted you to know what that was in case sometimes people will ask.
So pretty much the fundamental difference is that meetings, it says right here, more interactive sessions, and right here, typically do not interact.
Correct.
So one is more interactive, one is not very interactive.
Yep.
So that's the basic difference between the two.
Yep. All right. So we want to know if you know how to rename yourself. We will walk you through it if you'd like, and share a reaction. So the reaction is going to be on the bottom. For renaming yourself, where all the pictures are, you might have it on the top, you might have it on the right. You'll see the pictures of people. If you scroll over your picture to the right, you're going to see 3 little dots on blue, and you should be able to rename yourself. So I'm going to go over here, and it says rename, and I'm going to rename myself. Let's see. Zoom Master, I'm going to call myself. There I am. Now I'm the Zoom Master.
We need a minute to go ahead and rename yourself and share one of the reactions, so we can see that you guys have mastered one of the more advanced versions of being a participant. Definitely something you can want to share with your participants when you were hosting.
We have happy here.
All right.
Again, I'll go over it again. So wherever you see the thumbnail of the pictures, find yourself. Click the blue, once you hover on top of your picture, there's going to be a blue button on the top right with 3 white dots. If you click that, you will be able to rename yourself. This can be helpful if you are given permission to record a session so those not there can see it, but you want to make sure that student privacy is protected. Maybe you'll have kids turn off their video and change their name. You cannot rename other people as the host. However, you can prevent them from renaming themselves.
Yeah, that's a setting you can set up.
We'll show you that in a bit.
Funny story about renaming is I saw it on Facebook this morning. There is a student who got kind of clever, who they want to get credit for being in Zoom, but didn't want to have to do anything. So they renamed themselves Reconnecting ... So the teacher thought that they were having Wi-Fi issues. So they didn't share their video, so you couldn't see them, and they just muted them. They stayed muted, and so the teacher felt like, well, I can't really call them out for it because they're having Wi-Fi issues.
That's hilarious.
So that was a trick that a kid did. I thought that was kind of funny, but something you might want to be aware of. You're going to have these little knuckleheads that are going to try to pull one over on you. So definitely something to be that you want to be aware of.
I saw some of you used reactions as well. Now, I'm going to change my name back to my real name because, tell them why, Adam.
Because when you change your name in Zoom, it's going to stay that way until you rechange it. So if you were just having some fun with some friends on a social Zoom, maybe you're doing a happy hour with your friends, and you put a funny nickname, the next time you join Zoom, and if it's for your PLC the next day, it's gonna show that name, so not your real name. So you have to change it back. So that's something that you want to be aware of, and obviously make your participants aware of that as well.
Agreed. All right. So scheduling meetings, we'll go over this. We do want to make sure we get to the breakout room. So
what we'll do, we have these slides that are here for you to refer to.
Mm-hmm.
What we'll do right now, I'll just kind of walk you through how to schedule a meeting from scratch.
Yeah, make sure that we get the settings because of the annotation and such.
So I have a video that shows you how to go completely from scratch, where when you just sign up and do all that. I'm not going to do the sign up portion of it right now, just because I don't want to have to create a whole new account. So you start by going to the Zoom website, zoom.us, and it takes you to this page here. If you need to sign up for the first time, you hit sign up, it's free. Otherwise, you click sign in with your account. And for me, I always sign in with my Google account right here. There you go. So it brings you to this page. This is kind of your dashboard. You see right here, it's highlighted blue meetings. So to go ahead and schedule your first meeting, you would click schedule a new meeting right here. And you can give it let's call this, we'll say it for fun. We'll call it happy hour. And we'll say BYOD, bring your own device. And let's say we're going to make it for 8 p.m. tonight. But the default's an hour. You can change it however you like. As we go through here, the registration, this is one here that if you are working with a large group, this is going to be a public meeting. This is one that you may want to use, that you can use. I know, Catherine, when you work for a county office of ed, so you are using registrations.
That's because I don't know everyone. But if you know
Yeah.
your students' names,
Yeah, if
you
you-
really don't need it with a waiting
Yeah,
room.
so again, just to reiterate that, if you know the people who are going to be there, no need for this. But if you're not sure, definitely something that you want to be cognizant of. You can automatically generate the random meeting ID, or you can use your default one that's used for your account. That's up to you. One of the newer, and it's not reflected in our slides because when we made the slides last week, they actually updated it. Meeting password now is now required.
Only for the free one, though.
Yes, if you are on a free account, which I'm assuming most of you are, the meeting password, there used to be an option here. It's now required. You have to you actually know it's not for free. I'm using my account here. This is paid.
Oh, maybe it's on education because mine,
Yeah.
I can take that off.
Yeah. So,
Unless it was the previously scheduled meetings, and that's why.
yeah, I think yours were kind of grandfathered in, but
May
pretty
have
much
been.
from this point on, since like last Friday, they updated it. You used to be able to turn this on and off. Right now, it's automatic. You have to have a password, and then each time you schedule one, it'll automatically generate one for you. But I can go in here and I could change it to whatever the heck I want. So I'm just gonna randomly put one right there, whatever you want, or you can just use the one that's default. Totally up to you. A very important part right here to remember here is when you is the video section here. So will this be for the host? Are you going to want to use your video? Yes or no? I would assume most of you are probably going to want to have your video on as the host. Now, do you want the participants to have access to use their video? That's up to you as well. By default, it's turned off, but if you want them to be able, you want to see their faces, you can go ahead and turn that off. If you know that you're working with a lot of kids that may not have good Wi-Fi, you might want to just do audio and not turn on their video. This gives you a measure of control there. I know some Zoom is approved, as we talked about last time. It's approved by FERPA. You're not going to be breaking privacy laws if you're using it to teach students. But there are some districts that have said that you can use Zoom, but you can't use video. Even though the government allows it, they do give districts the leeway to set their own policies on that. I know a lot of districts will allow you to use Zoom, but as long as you are having the student participants videos off. So that's definitely something to be aware of. The audio, you can allow them to use their phone or computer audio, or you can I always have them do both. I want to give them that option. For the meeting options, these are some important ones right here. Two that we suggest you always have turned on are right here. Mute participants upon entry. So when they join in, they can't talk yet until you give the go ahead for them to be able to share their voice. We also say enable the waiting room. That's a great little kind of security feature there where you have to admit them in. It's like having your own bouncer. So if you may see like somehow your Zoom link got out somehow and someone tries to join and you don't recognize the name, while they're in the waiting room, you can chat in the waiting room and say, hey, please state your real name so I know who you are, so you can confirm people. And if it's not someone that you can confirm, you can kick them out and keep them out. So that's definitely it's one of my favorite parts of Zoom is being able to enable the waiting room. An important one right here, enable to join before host. When you're working with kids, we recommend do not allow them to join before you.
Mm-hmm.
You're working with adults and your colleagues, that's something you may want to allow, but again, completely your discretion. But we recommend with students, do not check this one.
It would be as if you're letting them be in your classroom without you there supervising them, which in California you could lose your credential, to be completely honest. So, yeah, go ahead, and then I'm going to speak to one more thing. If you want to share this last screen here.
Yep. So this is kind of like the reviewing the details of your meeting. And if you see a mistake and I shouldn't have, there's something I checked wrong, you can click edit, go back to exactly where we were. As far as getting people in to the word out, you can click copy invitation right here. Click copy, and now you can send that out as an email to everybody or through a instant message service that you may be using. Or you can drop in the Google Classroom, or you're working with small kids using Seesaw, Microsoft Teams, you name it. Then you definitely can get the word out to those who you need to be there. Probably whenever I work with my PLC, I'll schedule these meetings. I do it through Google Calendar. So if you're using Google Calendar, Outlook, or Yahoo Calendar, you can schedule this through that calendar service. and then whoever you invite to that calendar event will have the link. So with Google Calendar, that's what we use. If I click on that, and let's sign in. And what's going to happen, it's going to open up my calendar. It's going to have the event already created for me. It takes a second sometimes. There it is. We call it happy hour. And what it's going to do in the details down here is all the information they need. Pretty much all they got to do is click on this link. It puts, way more than what you need, but it's there. Something to be aware of is that with Google, when you hit add conferencing here, it allows you to also do Google Meet. So make sure if you're scheduling through Zoom, don't click that, because what that's going to do, it's going to throw in Google Meet link as well. You may confuse someone.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever you invite, they're going to see two video links. One's Zoom, one's Google Meet. And I've heard people that people have accidentally or by a reflex, they click that automatically. And people are like, hey, I went to your video call and nobody was there, because everybody went to Zoom. So some people kind of get confused. So when you see the add conferencing, ignore that. It's already put in here. I know you guys can probably see, like, why does it say join Zoom meeting? I actually link this account to Zoom, so it gives me two options. When I create a calendar event in Google, I can do Meet or I can do Zoom. So it kind of gives me that that option. That's why I get to choose here. Most people, it just says Meet.
Mm-hmm.
What you see here is, because I created it, this is my link to join when I'm ready. So whoever I invite here as a guest is going to get this link as well populated on their calendar. So I'm just going to do a little test one right there. Close that down, and back to you.
All right, so perfect. I did want to address a question about the annotation and whiteboard. So in the settings, that question was from Valerie. So what you're going to need to do is go to the settings in Zoom in your account, scroll down just about halfway, and the default is annotation and whiteboard are on. So you'll need to turn those off so that participants are not allowed to use the annotation and or whiteboard screen. So that was a great question. I also, let's go to the next slide here. Okay, so also if you look at this here, you're gonna notice this is where the security was, where you can choose to allow or not allow people to rename themselves. If you want people to be able to share their screen, you can do that. Locking a meeting is something, if someone comes in that wasn't supposed to and Zoom bombed it, you lock it so they can't get back in. If you have a waiting room, you probably, I don't believe you would ever have that problem anyway, unless someone put it on social media for some reason, and said they were the name of your kid. So probably pretty not too common to do.
I mean, if you're going to use the lock feature, pretty much, even if you have a waiting room, the waiting room will pop up when someone tries to get in. And if you're at a point where I don't want to deal with that pop-up, if you lock it, then you're not going to have to deal with the
but the only problem is if someone gets logged off with Wi-Fi, they can't log back in.
That's true.
So I never turn that on personally, but it's up to you.
Yep.
All right. Screen sharing. So I saw the question. I think what the question was, yes, you can share your desktop or the window, but if you share your desktop, you can't share all the stuff you are seeing on Zoom. In other words, I can't share like Adam is sharing his screen right now, but it doesn't show his Zoom things that are like, it doesn't show the Zoom features that he's actually using. So if that was the question, unfortunately, there's not a way to do that.
And that actually would be a useful thing to do. If I could share my Zoom controls here, if I'm teaching someone how to use Zoom,
yeah,
I could walk you through how to do it. Actually, I did do a Zoom session, but I did it through Google Meet, and then I opened Zoom so they could see what I was doing.
Interesting.
So if you're looking to train someone on Zoom, you want to create the conference video call in Google Meet, and then you open Zoom separately. And so I was using one tool to display another one. So that's
pretty smart.
So yeah, if that's what you're referring to, that's the hack to get around it. And it did work. It worked very well. As long as your computer has enough memory,
right,
to handle two video calls simultaneously, then you definitely can do that.
All right. So I'm not sure if you guys have used breakout rooms. It is available on the free and paid versions, but you have to set it in settings. So I talked to a teacher, a high school teacher just this week that said this saved my life. I didn't know how I was going to have kids have conversations next year if we're all distance learning.
Should I go ahead and show where that setting is?
We're going to do that next. Let's just go ahead and let him experience it.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, so Adam's going to stop sharing his screen so that he can put you all in breakout rooms. Essentially, you're just gonna, the screen's gonna tell you what to do, and we'll just have you in there for a bit. So just kind of say hello to each other. There we go. All right.
And
here we go. Mm-hmm. Send a message to all. That's kind of fun. No one's in mine. Someone not join?
Only one that joined was.
Oh. Where's Christy? No, but I don't see her. I hear her. Well, I don't.
Which probably has her. It's turned off.
Oh, there we go.
That's why it is.
Got it. Okay. So
all right.
you did a message.
3, 2, 1.
It takes, yeah, it takes a minute anyway.
And slowly but surely, you guys are making your ways back in. And within 60 seconds, it'll kick everybody back into the main room. So even if, you don't have to leave right away. You have 60 seconds to be in there until they kick you right back in. Almost ready.
Yeah, about 30 more seconds. So now, those of you that came back, you've experienced a breakout room. Now, we'll wait till everyone gets back before we explain what it's like as a host.
20 more seconds. Five seconds.
All right, so everyone's back. So after that 60 seconds, then Zoom will bring you back to the main session. As a participant, you saw it wasn't too difficult. You just push the button, to join the room, and then it pushes you back here. So it's really cool. As the host can drop into any of the sessions. So the host gets to see who those groups are, and then who's in the rooms, and then they can join those. So you can kind of check in on what your students are doing. If you're doing this with students, yeah, excellent question, Christy. I'll show you how to set it up in a moment.
So I think what she's asking, because what we did was the kind of shotgun random.
Oh, the random. Okay.
You can manually put people in.
But yeah, you can manually put them in during the session. Mm-hmm. You can also pre-assign it, but there's some challenges, which I'll go over in a bit. It's all written down. Okay, so good point. Mrs. Souza says, do we need to be worried about students being in breakout rooms without a teacher? So here's the challenge with this. I would say if I had like first graders or second graders, if I know my class, like there's some third grade classes I know, I'd probably not do it. Your class. I'd say fourth grade, maybe even. Like when I taught sixth grade, I think they could have handled it. They know I can drop in at any point. But here's the thing I would be sure of. They have to have something to take notes of their conversation so I know they were on task. So I would ensure that, you're going to go to your breakout room and you're all going to talk about, these 5 things or whatever. Make sure you take notes, and one person's going to come back and share out in the main session. And by the way, I will be dropping in every room. You don't know when. I might drop in more than once.
Yeah, kind of good kind of practice would be you actually can assign one kid in each one. Okay, you're the one who's taking the notes, mm-hmm. but then someone else is the one the other people are going to be presenting when you share out. So kind of assign those little roles. I know from a high school perspective, I know a couple of my classes, definitely I would not be caught dead doing breakout rooms, but I know nothing would get done and it would be all inappropriate. When I work, if I'm working with like an AP class, an AP, an AP US history class, that most of those kids I definitely would trust. And so again, like Catherine said, you have to know your kids,
Right.
you know.
So Christy asked if the breakout rooms are recordable. Gosh, this is the part that really irritates me. No, the breakout room only the main session is recorded. So if you are recording something, you have to actually push. Otherwise, it's just annoying because no one's there. You need to push pause on the recording, not stop. We're going to talk about that next session to make sure. But anyway, unfortunately, the breakout rooms are not recordable.
Well,
Let's get back to the session real quick because I just wanted to show we have like 1 or 2 more slides. I just want to show something real quick to answer someone's question. In the breakout, to have breakout rooms, you have to go to settings as you see here and allow them. So that is not, that the default is it's not allowed. So you have to go in there, allow it.
And what we'll do probably maybe the beginning of our next session on Friday, I can kind of go through live the steps how to get here.
Mm-hmm.
These are some screenshots that doesn't show you the kind of process of getting to that point. So it's kind of buried in there, so you have to kind of scroll through and find it. So I'll show you that on our next session.
Okay, this is how to do what it looks like, where you would click that circle on the bottom to start the breakout rooms randomly assigned. And then on the next one, you can pre-assign breakout rooms when you make the session, but it's really tricky. As you can see here, they have to use the desktop client or mobile app. They have to join before you, otherwise you have to recover to pre-assigned. Like it's a whole big kind of glitchy mess. So you could do that, you could mess with it, but if you have challenges, it's because there's a lot of like fine print stuff that's a little tricky.
Yeah, they're still kind of fine tuning it.
I'm sure it'll get better.
I would assume in the near future there won't be as many glitches as we're talking about right here. So again, some kind of reviewing back to what we did in the first session. We talked about using the desktop client or mobile app. They have to be doing that to do a breakout room. They can't join a breakout room from the browser.
I think they can join it. They just can't be pre-assigned.
Is that for pre-assigned?
Yeah, this is just pre-assigned.
You're right. That's right.
Yeah.
See, I need to see the fine print.
So last slide really quickly so you know what's coming next. We're going to we did do the customized names actually, but we'll talk about virtual backgrounds, the recording and live streaming to social media.
Which we're going to do that tonight.
Personally, we will. Yes, that's right. It is 4:47, so if you want to sign off, go ahead. If you'd like to stay and ask some questions, we are here. If you want to chat about anything related to Zoom or any other distance learning things, we'll be on for a few minutes if that's the case. Thanks so much, and we will see you next time.